Hello, you're watching news from Kazakhstan. I'm Askar Sheraliyev, and here are the headlines. Activist of ecological movement was killed in Almaty region. Nurlan Utiuliyev fought against cutting of trees in Tastebulak Park zone. Kazhydromet warns of rapid increase of temperature in several regions of Kazakhstan. MES is concerned that melting of snow might cause floods. Karaganda students were expelled for the video of Harlem Shake-style youth dances and popular music on the new table in front of Nazarbayev portrait. Yet another notorious murder. Nurlan Utiuliyev, one of the most well-known participants of ecological movement, was found dead in Almaty region. He was shot in the night of March 10th. Just a week ago, Nurlan participated in a campaign against cutting of trees in Tastebulak village.
This is likely the last video of Nurlan Utiuliyev. It shows the resident of the Almaty region telling the press about his actions against the falling of trees in his native village of Tastebulak. I was threatened and advised not to get into this affair, as otherwise I'd be arrested. Despite this, I continued to counteract the tree cutting. They caught me by the hand and ordered me to leave, minding my own business. A week later, on March 10th, Nurlan was shot dead in the mountains. The activist left a pregnant wife and a 10-year-old son. Today is the boy's birthday. Other family members say Nurlan was visibly concerned about something a few days before he died. Indeed, he was threatened. The woodcutters themselves told him they'd kill him. Supposedly, Nurlan got onto a private property, so they said they can shoot him at will. That's what he told me. He was an environment protection activist. We saw everything on TV, how these people cut down our trees. Nurlan stepped up and was killed because of his actions. Nurlan Utiuliyev's body with multiple shot wounds was found near the village Kargauldi in the Almaty region. The police is now working in the case, noting that some blood was found next to the victim's home. We've launched a criminal case and started an investigation. All of the possible motives will be looked into. So we hope to solve this atrocious case very soon. Nurlan's friends and associates believe he died for fighting to save the natural preserve. I'm sure this happened because of what he did and because he was actively involved in environment protection. These people wanted to intimidate and eliminate our initiative group fighting against them. The scandal involving the preserve area continues for already 4 years. Despite complaints of the local residents, the area of the woodcutting only increases, making way for elite housing.
Around 800 workers of oil service company organized the strike at Kalamkas field. As was reported by the representative of the independent trade union Zhanartu, people demand the increase of salaries. Representatives of the employer are on the way to meet with the workers to resolve the conflict.
I don't have any information. The management went there in the morning and haven't contacted me since. Members of the trade union were not allowed at the talks behind the closed doors. The organization's coordinator Mukhtar Umbetov says that the staff demands to raise wages to the level of Gas workers, who are allegedly paid twice as much. On top of that, many oilmen are not content with the Chinese management of the company. For the reference, oil services deal with the drilling of oil and gas wells in the region, as well as their subsequent maintenance. In total, the company employs around 3,000 people. As far as I know, the Chinese administration of Gas is scheduling a meeting of all the trade unions of Kalamak's representatives tomorrow in the city. The talks are underway, but we're not invited. In general, the company's management is trying to conceal this information.
The concerns of experts on the intensification of Chinese expansion on the local oil and gas sector might be confirmed. Kaztrans is intended to increase the supplies of oil to China by 20 million tons per year. This was stated at the briefing in Astana by the General Director of the GSC, Kayrgildi Kabıldin.
The management of Gas Structural Unit has published its annual report for 2012, revealing that Kaztrans received over $200 million in profits in oil exports. The company is now planning to increase the revenue, while Kayrgildi Kabıldin believes that rising export to China starting April will lead to increased transportation fees, which will elevate the company's earnings by another 30%. The set rates were temporary, and now we're adjusting them so that they could compensate the maintenance costs and secure appropriate profitability to cover the loans engaged for the project's implementation.
Rapid weather change is expected in several regions of Kazakhstan. Forecasters claim that temperature rise is expected this week, in some areas by 25 degrees Celsius. What are the possible consequences? Find out from the next report.
According to the data released by Emergency Department, around 3,500 Kazakhstan citizens have been rescued from snowdrifts over the holiday weekends. The roads leading out of the capital have been closed in different directions due to blizzard conditions. Hundreds of cars have been trapped. An elderly woman died with a heart attack in Arshaly village while waiting for the train at the station. This happened at the station while the woman was waiting for the train to Astana. The woman was on record with the hospital due to heart issues. The weather is slowly getting better. Weather forecasters are predicting that spring will be felt in the next 3 days. Daytime temperatures in the middle of the week will range from 15 to 25 degrees in the south and 0 to +5 degrees in the north. Meteorologists do not rule out the possibility of abundant snowfalls turning into snow melt floods. Mean annual precipitation in the center, east and west of the country has been exceeded by over 40%. Natalia Yenina, 75 years old, remembers clearing snowdrifts around 7 years ago. 7 years ago we used to pump the water from under the floor, and I'm afraid it will be worse this year. This is the first time in years that the snow is so heavy. Tatiana Nikolaevna and other residents of the private housing have been warned by rescue workers and students of the possible floods. Teams of volunteers go from house to house, disseminating the leaflets with instructions in case of floods. Vladimir Bashko, emergency minister, has just returned from East Kazakhstan region, bringing alarming news of the flood possibilities. The weather conditions are rather alarming. The minister already shared his concerns a month ago. According to Bashko, weather in spring may bring unpleasant surprises in all regions of the country. If foothill snow is dangerous in the south of the country, rivers are dangerous in flat terrains. It all depends on how fast the snow will melt.
Snow is not the only reason of floods. The most large-scale flood in the country took place 3 years ago. As a result of dam collapse in Kazakhstan, 45 people died and 450 families were left homeless. The village was restored eventually. The life of the villagers today in the next report.
Mulik Jaidarkhan lives in Kazalagash village since childhood. His family was happened to be more fortunate than others when they left the village in the evening of March 10, 2010. He only learned about the tragedy the next day. That day I was watching TV. The neighbors were going to go to the city. They warned us about the possible flood. My relatives went there and stayed in Taldykurgan hotel. But later they showed us the door, saying that nobody's going to pay for it. We failed to rent an apartment, so we temporarily stayed at our relative's place. We returned to the village only when our house was finally rebuilt. Following the tragedy, 465 houses were built and 30 houses repaired. So-called repairs resulted in houses that are falling apart. Only a few people received state certificates, which allows them to register and receive a loan. The chairman of the Board of Water Users Cooperative Kazalagash Bikeev, executive director Muhit Junusov and former mayor of Kazalagash Rural District Yeset Junusov were found responsible for the tragedy. They received 5 years in settlement colony, yet they were released under amnesty dedicated to 20th anniversary of independence. Yeset Junusov still considers himself innocent. I want to justify in front of the people, not the court. The government failure at that time caused Western Kazakhstan to be flooded. However, the people were to blame. In order to disclaim all responsibility, they simply judge ordinary people. NSDP Azad Presidium member Marjana Spandiarova visited the Kazalagash soon after the tragedy, and then a year later. She wonders why the families received only $3,300 as compensation. Human life is in fact priceless. However, it's wrong when the families of Kazalagash tragedy victims receive $3,300 and families of the fallen security forces receive 3 to 5 times as much. The state should revise the aid policy to the bereaved families. Environmentalist Melsi Liusizov believes that Kazalagash tragedy could happen again. Corruption is to blame, says the head of the environmental union Tabigat. You can't rely on anything these days. The entire society and state is corrupted. No laws are observed, no quality is assured. Who was there to monitor them? What were they doing? Nobody talks about this, as there is an absolute criminal impunity. It's a free-for-all. Yet the deputy head of Kassel-Zashita Talgat Bigbolov disagrees with the environmentalists. According to him, had the Kazalagash dam be the property of the department, the tragedy could have been avoided. All state-owned and state-funded structures are currently in full operation readiness for the period of mud flow risk. Last year we had repair works, clearing debris basins in 37 facilities, which is scheduled annually. According to the official, Kazakhstan is prepared for the melted waters this year. The MES reported that flood prevention funding has increased 5 times, from $19.8 to $99 million. However, there is no guarantee that tragedy similar to Kazakhstan won't happen again somewhere else.
Consumer loans will not become more expensive. According to the forecasts of the National Bank, the rate of refinancing for financial institutions in March will not change. Second-tier banks will have to pay more attention to the external markets. At least Grigory Marchenko advises them to increase the volumes of crediting by foreign loans. However, some experts claim that this practice was already used in the past, and the external debts negatively affected some of the largest banks of the country. Does the real sector of economy needs easy money? Find out from the next report.
Head of the National Bank is convinced that it is time for banks of Kazakhstan to enter the international markets to raise the capital. According to Grigory Marchenko, the external debt of financial institutions has reduced $47 billion in 2007 against $10.6 billion in 2013. Some banks may very well attract medium funding in foreign markets at acceptable rates to ensure the normal credit activities for the real sector of economy. Economic expert Miruet Makhmutova mentioned that Kazakhstan already had to deal with foreign loans which were taken to finance the mortgage and construction industry. Then followed the crisis. The banks have accumulated a large number of non-performing loans, and the country had a wave of protests of interest holders and mortgage holders. Kazakhstan still hasn't recovered from it, and its international credit history isn't at its best shape. The international investors still remember the recent debt restructuring of BT Bank, and it doesn't seem to inspire investors to invest in Kazakhstan's banking sector. Head of the Center for Macroeconomic Research, Olzhas Kudaybergenov, agrees with his colleague Makhmutova. He also believes that banks need to address the issue of non-performing loans instead of taking risks of raising new capital. The National Bank didn't learn a lesson from the past crisis. The crisis of 2007 and 2008 was partly caused by the fact that banks got carried away by foreign loans. In general, the country depended on foreign loans, and it wouldn't be proper to encourage it over again. However, according to Makhmutova, Kazakhstan's market and its banking sector pose quite an interest for Chinese investors. Yet it's not clear for the experts what's the use of foreign loans for financial institutions at this time if they're not ready to invest in the real economy.
Presidential demand to prolong the life of Kazakhstanis was achieved. At least this was said on Monday by the Astana authorities during the extended meeting with participation of Astana governor and healthcare minister. The average life expectancy of Astana residents increased to 73 years and is now the highest in the country. According to state officials, this is due to the high living standards in the capital.
The meeting of healthcare officials, attended by Minister Salidat Kairbekova and Astana Mayor Imangalitas Magambetov, opened with a report of the city healthcare department head. Agul Sigisbayeva boasted about good results reducing the rate of illnesses in the capital and managing to drop maternal and infant mortality. The average life expectancy of Astana resident rose from 67 to 73 years, and in the span of next 3 years the number is expected to hit 74.5. Basically, the main goal set by the president regarding the development of the longevity project is already achieved. Later, official also spoke about long-standing problems of Astana's healthcare system. In particular, Sigisbayeva complained about the lack of human resources and low wages. Since more than a half of doctors in the capital are not holding senior categories, they are all forced to look for side jobs. Since many young professional surgeons, intensive care staff, gynecologists and obstetricians cannot legally hold 2 positions in one medical institution, they are forced to work part-time and be on duty at several medical institutions. On day off, when a physician should rest and recover, they take shifts at other institutions, which affect the quality of their work and well-being.
More than 30 medical workers are afraid to lose their job for already several months. The staff of Sharbakti TB clinic are experiencing the lack of patients. As was revealed, authorities decided to shut down the TB center due to numerous violations discovered by the inspection.
The operation of the Sherbaktinsk TB hospital has been suspended by a court order following an epidemiology station's report which revealed numerous violations in the facility's work. Now the doctors are concerned they might become permanently unemployed. We all have outstanding credits to pay and we're just nurses. I don't have a husband, but I do have 3 kids to feed. There's no one to take care of me and there's no more work. Right now we just hope for everything to get back to normal. The hospital's management decided against talking to the staff, so the employees were forced to fight for their rights on their own. They say there's plenty of work as the number of TB patients in the area is rising slowly but steadily. We checked in 3 patients in the last 2 months, a child, a teenager and another patient in Pavlodar. Overall, we hold the 2nd place in morbidity among regional hospitals. Not only hospital staff, but also patients are now under threat of ending up without a ward. Sergei Shutov, for instance, is forced to undergo treatment at home now. It was much better at the hospital. Where would I go if I feel sick at home? I have no idea who to call if I need some special treatment. Regional healthcare department officials attempted to clarify the situation. They say all of the former hospital staff will be eventually re-employed. I can guarantee you that all the employees will be employed. We will work with the local administration because we understand all the seriousness of the situation. It's notable that Sherbaktinsk TB hospital is planned to be merged with the regional dispensary. The same fate might soon befall other local healthcare facilities.
Karaganda students were punished for filming a video in Harlem Shake style. They uploaded their video on the internet. Several days later, it was deleted from YouTube, while all the dancers were found and punished. The video is currently stored by the management of the Kazakhstan University.
Here is the footage of the video that became viral. However, university administration didn't allow us to video record it. Meanwhile, dozens of students from several Karaganda universities made similar videos and uploaded them to the internet. The administration didn't punish them for their creative efforts. 2 students of Karaganda State Technical University who organized the dance and added that the video had been expelled. University teachers thought that the dancers desecrated the Temple of Knowledge. Besides, they were outraged that students made the video in the recreation room with expensive furniture and Nazarbayev's portrait on the wall. Meanwhile, university heads refrained from commenting on the scandal on camera. They only told over the phone that they had done everything according to internal regulations. Our actions were legitimate. I'm not going to comment on the situation over the phone.
Classic filmmaker of Kazakhstan cinema, Sultan Khojikov, was commemorated on Monday in Almaty. On March 11th, director would turn 90. Relatives, colleagues and well-known actors laid flowers to the memorial.
On March 11, Sultan Ahmet Khojikov, a prominent Kazakh movie director, would have turned 90. His film Kazjebek is considered a classic. 43 years after the release, actors playing main characters reunited to commemorate the late filmmaker. It is so sad that Sultan passed away so early. Nevertheless, he left an enormous legacy that will stay with us forever. He devoted all his energy and soul to getting Kazjebek to the theaters. Sultan Khojikov directed only a few films through his career, with the most famous being Kazjebek and Znay Nashikh. The filmmaker never opted for quantity, choosing quality instead. Asanali Ashimov, an honored artist of the USSR and one of Kazjebek's stars, shared his memories of the director. Even back in the day, Sultan Khojikov, Majid Begalin and of course Shaken Aymanov were already considered classics of Kazakh cinema. They brought our art to a higher level, but unfortunately left us too soon. People who knew Khojikov personally produced a documentary about the filmmaker who went through the World War with Nazi Germany and later entered Soviet Film Institute at his older brother's insistence. The master himself appeared on film in just a few rare moments. Nevertheless, his movies will remain with the audience forever, and as a proof of the masterpiece timelines, last year the legendary Kazjebek was fully restored and released on DVD.
This week, Mukan Tulibayev, the classic of Kazakh music, would turn 100. An exhibition was organized in Almaty to mark the date. However, young people don't even recognize the great singer. What is popular these days and who is Tulibayev? Find out from the next report.
12-year-old Mariam is into rap not because it's so popular among young people, but because of its deep sense of recitative. And the girl knows everything about the life and works of her favorite local rapper Tanir. I love his songs as they always help people get over their emotional pain. It is Miriam's idol, Rinat Saifuddinov, better known as the founder of Dagut the jazz band. He has been into urban rap since he was 14. He started his career in his hometown Kızılorda and then moved to Almaty. He's both a singer, songwriter and a sponsor for himself. The rapper's tour is scheduled for a year ahead. When I was younger, I wanted to change the whole world around me, but then I realized how hard it was to break this solid foundation. Thus, I haven't written anything new lately, as I hate senseless songs. Local stars try to adopt Western style from performance to stage image. However, some people do miss legendary Yalla and Dos Mukasan bands. Unfortunately, nowadays music industry is just a profitable business and most singers hardly remember what key components this art involves. However, pop singer Sivi Mahmoudi, whose latest album included songs in 6 languages, strongly disagrees with Amirjan Kasanov. She says that she sings to make people happy. Personally, I always try to sing songs with deep lyrics. Unfortunately, nowadays most songwriters care only about the rhyme. As a result, there are a lot of poor songs with dirty words. These days, the classic of Kazakh music, Mukan Tolibayev, would be 100 years old. Unfortunately, Almaty residents can hardly remember whether it is a real person or just the name of one of the most popular streets in the city. I would encourage our young musicians and musicologists to read more Russian literature as it fits in our culture and can enrich it. But there's no point in talking about Kazakh classical music when even songs around the campfire and guitar home concerts gave way to primitive lyrics.
This is all for now. Thank you for watching and have a good day.